Welcome in to this edition of Hand Raised Guys, presented by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. It's a solo version. My name is Neal McCready. Thank you for being with me here on the big show. It's brought to you by our friends at Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating, different names, same great people, products, and services. You may have noticed highs in the 80s this weekend, which means spring is here, summer's around the corner. You want to make sure your air conditioner is ready to meet the challenge. If you live in North Mississippi, the Memphis area, safe bet that it's going to get really hot over the next few months. You're going to need your air conditioner. You want it to work efficiently. Now's the time to get it checked. So if you live in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, that area, call our friends at Comer, 662-801-1777. If you live in Memphis, South Haven, Olive Branch, Hernando, Lewisburg, Horn Lake, those areas, call our friends at Southern. Same people, just different names. 662-429-4429. They'll take great care of you. Please mention that you heard about them on MPW Digital. That would be a really nice thing to do for Chase and myself. We would appreciate that greatly. I'm coming to you from the Clark Ford Studios. Speaking of people we appreciate greatly, Clark Ford is in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900. Call that number. Ask for Corey Clark. You may have heard the news. There's a tariff question coming up. I think tariffs probably impacted this decision from Ford, but employee pricing for the next couple of months, if you're in the market for a vehicle, now would be a great time to get in touch with the people at Clark Ford, whether you're looking for an F-150, a Ranger, an Expedition, a Bronco, a Fusion, whatever the case may be. Get in touch with the people at Clark Ford, an Explorer. They'll take care of you. 662-257-1900. Corey and the people at Clark Ford want to be your car guy. They want to be your truck guy. They'll prove to you what that means when you make the call. 662-257-1900. I'm going to open up the Campbell Clinic Hotline. From fractures and sports injuries to complex spine and limb conditions, the pediatric orthopedic physicians at Campbell Clinic in Oxford are the only specialized pediatric orthopedic team in North Mississippi, providing expert care for growing bodies. Please visit campbellclinicoxford.com, campbellclinicoxford.com to schedule an appointment or call 901-759-3111. This will be the Friday Blue Sky Live. Blue Sky recorded, but Blue Sky Live, you get the point. Wherever you're traveling, if you're traveling in the state of Mississippi this weekend, stop at a Blue Sky. You'll be glad you did. Always a great place to fill up your tank outside and fill yourself up inside. Great rib specials, barbecue. Hang on, caller, real quick. I'll get right to you. Barbecue. They got always soda, great beer selection, and more at Blue Sky all over the state of Mississippi. We appreciate their decades-long plus sponsorship of our program. Hey, caller, who's this?
So, Neal, it's Tupelo.
Hey, Tupelo, what's up, man?
Not a whole lot. I know we hadn't had the show the last couple of weeks, but I appreciate all the coverage during the tournament run. That was the most fun I've had in my basketball fandom in my whole life, so that was awesome.
Yeah, I'll go out on I mean, I've said this. This is a hill I'll die on. I will fight people on this. Not literally fight, but you know what I mean. I won't back down from this argument. I think the NCAA tournament, and to a lesser extent the SEC tournament, are the best. And when I say best, I mean most fun fan experiences that there are.
It really opened my eyes to the schools like Kentucky, obviously, but even like Florida and just some other SEC schools that have a presence in the tournament. It made me understand why they enjoy their basketball program so much, because it's not even the winning. I mean, obviously that's a part of it.
Yeah.
But the tournament itself is so much fun. I wasn't old enough to really remember the last Sweet 16 appearance, so I've never seen an Ole Miss basketball team win a first-round tournament game. I mean, I know they won a play-in game or whatever, but
yeah, no, it was first.
You know what I mean.
It was the first time they had won that round since 2013 when they beat Wisconsin and Kansas City.
Well, I was So I want to talk a little NBA, if that's okay with you. I figure it's okay
It's
with you.
always okay with me to talk NBA. I try not to.
So
I don't instigate those conversations, but I'm always willing to participate. I'm beginning to get a little nervous. The playoffs are right around the corner. My guys have wrapped up the number 1 seed in the West. Appears they're headed to wrap up the number 1 overall seed. I just need nobody to get hurt, and then I know that the late night nerves are right around the corner, and I'm half excited about them and half there's a lot of trepidation.
Yeah, I got a stat about the Thunder I want to tell you before I hop off the call in a few minutes. But I was driving up Saturday. I got to go to the Lakers Grizzlies game in Memphis Saturday night.
Okay.
And a friend and I we were driving, and I was telling him, I was thinking to myself, Ole Miss basketball this year was the first time in my fandom of basketball where my team was 4 wins away from a championship, because the Grizzlies had never made the finals. So just to put it in that perspective, it was really neat to watch this team develop. And earlier in the year, when they were before SEC play, I thought they had no shot at making the Sweet 16. They were not good offensively, and that's what happens when you have a really good coach. But so I was at the game Saturday night, and that was the interim coach for the Grizzlies' first game.
Yep.
I'm going to be honest. I don't get the whole process. I don't get the mindset. And I listened to Jeffrey this morning on the show. I just don't get it. Because they gave Taylor no chance this year. It felt like I didn't feel like he had a win. I don't think he had any win scenario this year, because had they made the playoffs, let's say the second round and fizzled out, he still didn't have his staff. And the other side of it was if they fizzle out before the playoffs even start, they're going to fire him. And that's exactly what happened. And I don't know. I think it's kind of a bad look. And the Grizzlies really don't need any more bad looks right now with how things are going, even with Ja Morant. Did you see the other night when we were playing the Warriors that the NBA put out a statement about doing an investigation on Ja Morant's gun signs towards the Warriors bench? And I get nothing came from that.
Yeah.
But just the almost the nerve to do it.
Yeah.
It just bothers me so bad.
So there's a dichotomy with Morant, in my opinion. On one hand, I think the league is being overly sensitive about his actions in that regard. On the other hand, it's time to grow up. It's time for Ja to grow up. And because here's the thing, they've got a threesome to build around. Ja Morant and Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr., who is one of the 3 or 4 best defenders in the league, Jackson. That's about as much as you can hope for. They need to surround that group. They need to just make a decision. If you surround that group with enough defenders and shooters, is it enough to make a run in the playoffs? And if it's not, then is it time to tear some of it apart? And it's really hard to tear that apart when you have a guy like Morant, who's probably the highest profile athlete to ever play in Memphis, my opinion.
Yeah, and you've heard me say this. It's hard because he is the highest profile player, but at the same time, it almost makes more sense to build around Jaren Jackson Jr. than it does him.
It does. And I love Jackson. I think he's terrific. The Grizzlies, again, though, I think the Grizzlies that's the decision they have to make. And I think they've already made it. I think they're going to build around those guys. But part of that is that they need Ja Morant to grow up. They need Ja Morant to become more available, and they need him to become more dependable. And because Desmond Bane is, and Jackson is, but I don't think those two guys in the West right now, with Oklahoma City, Houston with that young, talented core that they've got, and ownership that's pretty volatile. You've got Denver, where you still have the best player in the world in basically the prime of his career. And God only knows what's going to happen in San Antonio, where I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if you told me that Cooper Flagg magically ends up in San Antonio with Victor Wembanyama, I totally buy it. And at that point, they become on the cusp of being a contender down the road pretty quick. And so if you're Memphis, you're running the risk of getting squeezed out. You're seeing that already. I mean, they were the 2 seed not that long ago, and now they're at the risk of being the 6 or the 7 and getting themselves, kind of run out of the playoffs in round number 1, where they just have some soul searching to do. And I just kind of think that's where they are.
Yeah, well, if you look at the standings, there's 4 teams above them right now because they're tied for 6. But if, let's say, the Timberwolves, Clippers, and Grizzlies all tie at the end of the season, let's say their records are even, we would be the 8th seed because of the tiebreakers. So if things stand, there's 4 teams ahead of the Grizzlies right now that have either a top 7 player or that's under the age of 25 of 30. I mean, you have Lakers with Luka, you have Minnesota with Anthony Edwards, and you have Oklahoma City with SGA. And so, I mean, it's not like you can say, well, let's just run this back and things will be better next year. I mean, it's a really awkward place. And my thought, and I don't know how to say this without sounding too bad, I think if Ja Morant played in Indianapolis or Indiana or let's say like the Suns, I think they would look to trade him. But that city would riot if their team traded Ja Morant away from the Grizzlies. I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. That's just the truth. Memphis loves Ja Morant.
Yeah, so let's play this out for a minute. Right now, today, if the playoffs started today, and they don't, but we're getting close, Memphis would play the Clippers in the first-round play-in game. If they won, they would be the 7 seed. If they lost, they would play the winner of Dallas-Sacramento to be the 8 seed. So we'll start there. Let's say they lose and then win. They draw the Thunder in the first round. The Thunder obviously have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have Jalen Williams. They have Chet Holmgren. In the 2, you've got...
That's over in 5.
Yeah, I mean, Memphis would be hard-pressed to win a game. Against the Rockets, you've got Jalen Green. You've got Sengun. They're not winning that series. The point is that all these organizations are in much better position for the long term. The 3 today would be the Lakers. They would play Minnesota in a 3-6, which would be fascinating. You've got LA, who's got Luka. You've got Minnesota's got Anthony Edwards. The 4-5 would be absolute theater with Denver.
Yeah.
And Golden State, where you've got Jokic and you've got Steph and Draymond and Jimmy Butler. And yeah, I mean, your point's well taken, which is Memphis is just not well positioned right now. Not for now and not for the long term. So they've got to figure it out. Well, I don't know. Yeah. Like if you trade Ja Morant, what's his trade value today? What are you getting for him?
Well,
2, 3 first-round picks?
I don't even know if you get that because he hasn't played. And the reason why I make the point of I would build around Jaren Jackson Jr. before Ja Morant is because the sample size of the team playing well with Jaren Jackson Jr. and without Ja Morant is much larger than it is with Ja Morant and without Jaren Jackson Jr. I mean, if you take Ja off this team, they're probably still a play-in team. Now, that's not fair at all because of how this last 3 weeks has played out. But you do get my point of Jaren has been there. I mean, I think he's about to play 68 games this year, 70 games, close to that. And that's fine. But like Ja, this is about to be the 3rd year in a row or 3 out of the last 4 years where he didn't even play 60 games. And that's just not doable. I can't fathom your superstar not being there for a third of the season. That to me just doesn't
I agree.
breathe a winning organization.
No,
I mean, that just doesn't.
Absolutely.
And I imagine you'd be frustrated if SGA didn't play 5 straight games in 3 straight years. I mean, that's hard to.
No, I mean, well, it's
win.
One of the reasons the Thunder are so good is because, for the most part, with the exception of Holmgren breaking his hip, the stars answer the bell every night. I mean,
and speaking of the Thunder, and I'll state this stat. I don't think people realize at all because the NBA is so bad at marketing.
Yeah.
That the Thunder, and I don't mean to be blasphemous at all. and I have deep respect for those Bulls teams. But the Thunder are very close to eclipsing, statistically, other than wins and losses, the best Bulls team that Jordan had. I mean, it's really – I mean, I think we'll look up in 20 years, and it'll be 1-2, 96 Bulls, 24, 25 Thunder. And, again, not to be blasphemous to the basketball gods, but SGA's numbers they are unbelievable. And the only person
you know whose numbers you know who his numbers a lot like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the only person that comes to my mind when I watch him play, it's not Kobe Bryant, it's not Carmelo Anthony. I mean, it's Michael Jordan. And I didn't get to watch Michael Jordan play in his prime. I just didn't.
I did.
But I've seen plenty, and I know you did. I've seen plenty of YouTube videos of his games. I've seen plenty of reruns of his games that my dad had on tape and stuff. And when I watch SGA, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's probably not going to go 6-0 in the finals, but that's not the point. The point is that this dude has the chance.
Listen.
I mean, go ahead. Yeah.
There's a world. And I'm not saying this is going to happen. In fact, the odds are against this. But there's a world where the Thunder win the title this year, and that next year, while they defend the title, they have 2 picks in the top 7. It's not far-fetched. Philadelphia's pick is top 6 protected this year. The Sixers are tanking hard. They'll probably maintain their pick, which means that next year the pick is top 4 protected. The Heat pick is, I think it's lottery protected. The Heat will probably protect their pick. And then
I don't know. They may get out of the lottery.
And then
maybe.
And then next year their pick is completely unprotected. There's a world. There's a world where the Thunder have 2 top 7 picks next season.
Well, and let's be honest, Sam Presti's so good at his job. I think you could put him in any league, in any sport, and he would do well.
Yeah.
Like, I think he doesn't think basketball. I think he just thinks managing a corporation, if that makes sense. I think you could put him in the NFL and he'd figure it out.
No, he's elite. He's built. Everyone on that roster is under contract for next season. They have
and Zach Kleiman's good.
He is. Kleiman's
good, and that's what's so frustrating as a fan, because I'm not saying that we should replicate the Thunder. We're not the Thunder. We don't need to focus on the Thunder. We need to focus on Memphis. But to see how well run an organization is, and honestly, the Thunder and the Grizzlies have some similarities, and I don't mean that negatively. I mean, they're the only major team in their city. The city loves them. They were not an expansion, but they were a team that moved. Both of them moved, and I know the Thunder have done well. They made it to the finals, and the Grizzlies haven't. But the Thunder is the example that the Grizzlies should follow. They shouldn't be the Thunder. They should be the Grizzlies, but they should absolutely follow the outline. And I don't know.
The question is, to follow the Thunder outline is that you have in this world you would have to trade Ja. You would probably have to trade Desmond, and then you would have to you'd have to do the tank thing, and you'd have to be pretty transparent in a town where I don't know that people would support with their bodies and their season ticket holders a tank. And in fairness, Oklahoma City fans didn't really either. I mean, that arena got pretty empty and tickets got pretty readily available during the heart of the tank. And they got very fortunate in that trade with Paul George that they were able to get SGA, who turned into an MVP caliber player.
Well, and I don't know if Memphis could survive a tank, but I don't know how much longer they'd be able to survive this either. I mean, it's been frustrating. Now, I don't think we could survive 2 tanks in 12 years like the 76ers are going through right now. I mean, if you told me they traded John in 10 years, they're trading other pieces and trying it again, I think that would really lose all momentum that Memphis had. I mean, you could start talking about the team moving. I mean, it would get really weird. But I don't know. I won't stay on here too much longer, but I think we're on a crash course for the Thunder and the Cavaliers to be in the finals. And I'll tell you why I think the Cavaliers are not the Celtics.
Oh.
So Just hear me out.
Yeah, sure. Listening.
Okay. When was the last time a team, either East or West, doesn't matter, a team went back-to-back to the finals? We can go through the years. So last year it was Boston. The year before it was Boston. Boston last year. The year before it was Miami.
Okay.
The year before that was Boston again.
Okay.
When they lost to the Warriors. In 21, it was the Sun. It was the Suns, Milwaukee. So Milwaukee. 2020, it was the Heat. 2019, it was Toronto. 2018, it was Cleveland. 2017, it was Cleveland. So my point is, the last time we've seen a team actually go back-to-back to the finals was LeBron James in 2017 and 2018, those Cleveland teams. So I'm stating, even how great Jokic was last year, it's just hard to get back to the finals. And I think Cleveland is good enough to top Boston 4 out of 7 times. And that's my point. Now, if Boston does it, I mean, they're good enough. I'm not going to be shocked, but I am going based on statistics. The only person that's done it in the last decade has been Steph Curry and LeBron James. So, and I don't think Jason Tatum is Steph Curry or LeBron James.
A Game 7 ECF in Cleveland between Boston and Cleveland would be, I mean, incredible theater.
Yeah. Well, and the most underrated player in the league, in my opinion, is Mobley. I think Evan Mobley is phenomenal.
Yeah. I think we're underrating Donovan Mitchell, but yes, I agree. Jared Allen.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of guys on that team.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenny Atkinson's been a terrific coach. He's got a lot of international experience, recent international experience. He's very good. And Boston's very good. I mean, both teams are really good. Boston has played really well down the stretch, a little better than Cleveland has, and I think that's probably clouding my opinion a little bit.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, look, I'll say here's my hot take. If the Thunder win the West, they're winning the championship.
I agree. I think it's going to be harder for the Thunder to get through the West than it would be to get through 4 out of 7 games against the Eastern team. Yeah. And I always do like a underrated underdog team from each conference who I could see legitimately making the finals if they just go, it can't be someone who's just whatever. Like, I don't think the Grizzlies have any chance. But I do think the East team is the Pacers, and I think the West team is still the Lakers. I don't trust them, but I think if Luka could get hot for 9 games straight, you could see them at least sniff the finals. But I think Indy has a legitimate chance. They just, I mean, that East is just, I mean, it's just 2 teams in the NIM, and they kind of get forgotten. But I think they'll be good. Hey, I'm going to leave you with one set of stats here, and then I'm going to hop off so other people can call or you can answer questions.
Okay.
All right, 2024, 2025 SGA stat line. You ready? 32 points per game, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 9 free throw attempts per game. There goes that narrative that he shoots 37 free throws a game. You can forget that. MJ, 1995, 1996, 30 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 8 free throws attempts a game. All right, Neal, I'll leave you with that. That should give you some confidence going into the playoffs.
It does. And the other thing I'll say about young Michael Jordan and SGA today, I think they're wired almost identically. Now, I'm
telling you, people don't realize
SGA
how
handles. Let's say SGA wins the title this year, wins an MVP. How he handles that success, does he stay as driven as Jordan did? That remains to be seen. But I do. It's why I always hesitate to do it, because people they look at me and they roll their eyes, and I'm like, you didn't hear what I said. You refused to hear what I said because we live in hot take land, and you said that you're thinking I'm comparing SGA's body of work to Michael Jordan's, which is impossible today.
Yeah, there's no one that's going to do that again.
But SGA today and Michael Jordan at the year that he won the first title, there's a hell of a lot of similarities.
Yeah, that's why I get frustrated when I see that he's the next, or he's the next Michael Jordan or LeBron James. I'm like, guys, that doesn't work. I mean,
he might be. I mean,
he might.
Because here's the thing: the Thunder are. I mean, I hate to be the guy that's like, oh my God, everything's perfect, because it's not that way. But the Thunder are
It's
really,
as good as a position you could be in.
They're really poised, man. I mean, they've got, you look at like the contracts that they have Aaron Wiggins on, the contract they have Isaiah Joe on, the contract they have Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein. Those are incredibly movable, affordable. They got the rookie, I can't think of his name now. He's sitting out this year with the knee. Everybody raves about him. I mean, Nikola Topic. Everybody raves about him. I mean, if you listen to, and I don't expect anybody to be as weird in the weeds as I am about the Thunder, but if you listen to Daignault, you can always tell when he's really high on someone. He's really high on that kid, and that kid's going to be on a rookie scale deal. I think Jalen Williams, Santa Clara Jalen Williams, is a superstar. And then I think they've got guys like Arkansas Jalen Williams who when they say they draft people, I think that's what they mean. He's the kind of guy that, I don't know if you've noticed, but look at his 3-point shooting percentage.
It's up there. I have him on my.
He's gone from being an unplayable player in the playoffs to a guy that's now your third center. He's this little piece you can use here and there, but he's shooting like 40% from three, and he's developed a really quick release. He's definitely usable. Yeah, he's usable.
Yeah,
they're deep. They are immensely deep and talented. I think Lou Dort is the best perimeter defender in the league, and then you've got all these other guys that they can throw at people. They're beating the Thunder 4 times out of 7 games. I don't care if you're the Warriors or the Lakers or the Timberwolves or the Celtics or the Cavaliers. It's going to be hard.
Well, it's going to be like every other type of championship team. It's going to take one of those teams playing out of their mind for 3 games and the Thunder to have moments where they slip up. The Thunder and the Thunder may be the only team in the playoffs, especially in the first round, play 10 guys legitimate minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody else is going to play 8. I mean, that's just how playoff basketball is. But the Thunder are so deep. I mean, I watch them. I have a couple of friends that are Thunder fans, so I like to keep up with them. And SGA is on my fantasy basketball team. And it's just, I don't know. They play so well. They're really good. And like you said, it's going to be hard for someone to beat them 4 out of 7 times. But anyway, I'll let somebody else hop on the line. I want to ask you one more question. Have you watched any baseball at all?
I've tried to watch a little, but I've struggled so far. But it's early. I mean, we're just now April the 3rd. I think I'm going to start making myself watch some here soon, but I haven't watched a lot, no.
Well, I did get to witness history yesterday. The Cardinals played the 3rd game against the Angels. They won. But Ivan Herrera, who is our catcher, he's the first catcher in St. Louis Cardinals history to hit 3 home runs in 1 game. I did not expect it to be Ivan Herrera. I kind of thought, possibly the best catcher of all time that would potentially do that. But anyway.
Yeah,
and Yadier Molina.
Ted Simmons was really good. You're right.
Ted, yeah.
All right, buddy. I appreciate you.
All right, Neil. Thanks. Go Cardinals. Have a good one, man.
Tupelo, thanks for the call. As always, Grind, you asked a question earlier. I think I kind of answered it. The team in the West that scares me probably is I think it's Golden State, just because of their pedigree, just because of Steph. I think the Thunder would be really motivated to play them. I think the Thunder can throw a whole bunch of perimeter defenders at Steph, wear him down. Draymond's going to try to get in their heads. I don't think it'll work. Butler's playing happy Butler basketball right now, which is a little scary. I mean, I still think the Thunder would win that series, but that's probably the team that scares me more than even the Lakers. Yeah, the Lakers are going to get theirs, and Luka's going to get his, but the Thunder, again, have a plethora of bodies they can throw at Luka. They can put Jalen Williams on LeBron. The Lakers don't have the bigs to match up with Holmgren and Hartenstein, and the Lakers don't have the depth to run with the Thunder. I think the Thunder could run them out of the series. Minnesota scares me a little bit. I'm a big Anthony Edwards guy. He's terrifying. And the Grizzlies have this kind of bevy of defenders that they can throw at Shea. And they've played the Thunder well a few times. I think Fitch has a good plan for them. Other than that, that's really it. Denver doesn't really scare me. Nothing against Braun, who's a nice player. If he's got to guard SGA for 7 games, he's got no real chance. Jokic is going to get his once or twice, but I think the Thunder are better than Denver. I think the Thunder are better than the Clippers. They're better than Memphis. They're better than Dallas. It's probably Golden State that scares me the most in that second round. I mean, this is going to sound hot takey as hell. I think if the Thunder get out of the second round, where they're either probably going to play the Lakers or the Warriors, I think they're winning a title. That's what I think. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Won't be the first time. Won't be the last. Wesley, thank you for the super chat. He says, I don't want to call, but I'd love to hear you discuss Keith Carter and what he's done to retain guys like Lane Kiffin and Chris Beard. I just think he's, like I wrote in my column, I just think he's in it to win it. I don't know that the two sports are the same. He didn't want to lose Lane Kiffin to Auburn. They put together the NIL necessary to satisfy Lane. There was more to that decision, obviously, with his family and with his daughter and his dad. There was a lot there. But at the end of the day, Ole Miss gave him enough to make him believe that he would be competitive, and he has been. Same thing I think happened with Beard. And by the way, I don't think it matters who instigated the contact between Ole Miss and between Texas A&M and Chris Beard. I don't think it matters whether Texas A&M did it or whether Chris Beard's agency did it. I don't think it matters. I'm in the minority on that, but I don't. It would make sense that Chris Beard would explore an opening at an SEC school in Texas. He's from there. I think his mom's in Houston. He's got deep Texas ties. That's a resourceful program, and it would make sense for Texas A&M to want Chris Beard. I said this on the Blue Sky Live on Thursday. If I were in the room in College Station when I found out that, hey, Buzz Williams is leaving for Maryland, who should we hire? I would have said Chris Beard. We should go try to hire Chris Beard. I don't fault. I get the whole fan thing. I'm just not really. It's not really the way I'm wired as it pertains to this. They did what they should have done. They went after Chris Beard. Ole Miss did what Ole Miss should have done, and that's. Hold on, caller, real quick. Ole Miss did what it should have done and said, no, we're going to fight tooth and nail to keep him. He's an elite coach. He is a coach that just took a fairly average roster, in my opinion. No offense to the guys in that locker room, but fairly average to the Sweet 16 within a breath of the Elite Eight. Ole Miss gave him the resources necessary for him to feel satisfied that he would be able to continue to compete at the highest level. Chris Beard's motivated by one thing. It's not loyalty to any particular school. It's not emotion or sentiment. He is motivated by winning. And the fact that Lane Kiffin and Glenn Boyce and the people at Ole Miss were able to convince him that he would be able to continue to win and win bigger at Ole Miss probably speaks volumes to the level of commitment that they expressed to him over the last couple of days. Hey, caller, who's this?
This is George in Atlanta.
Hey, man, what's up?
How we doing? Question about these 11 spots we got to fill. All that excitement and all that anxiety that came with the Beard search. It's going to take a second to fill out the roster, I assume, but all these kids are looking for a bag.
Yep.
Assume there's going to be a ton of nuance that's going to go on with how do you fill out your bench. If you're Chris Beard, how's the priority list go? How do you sort this out? Because we've got not a lot of time and a lot of spots to fill, but everybody's going to want to get overpaid. So
yep.
How's that work?
Yep, you're right. The numbers, man, are crazy. I mean, the numbers are insane right now. There's a kid in the portal, and he's not going to get this, okay? So don't go crazy with this number. He's not going to get it. And I'm not going to say his name because I don't know it for an absolute fact, but the sourcing on this is pretty good. There is a kid in the portal who is shopping himself right now for $4 million. $4 million. He's not going to get it.
Yeah.
He's not going to get it. But that's what he wants. Now, do the math on what he'll probably get. He'll probably get half of that. The numbers that are flying around on Yaxel Lindeborg, the UAB transfer portal forward. By the way, that's not the guy I'm talking about. The numbers on him are flying around 2 million-ish. So to answer your question, I think you will probably try to build a college roster the way that you sort of build an NBA roster. You want a star or two, preferably two, and then you want to build around those stars with role players that fit. You need shooters. You need guys who can defend. You need guys who can facilitate. You need guys who can play in the post, who can grab rebounds. You need guys who can come off your bench and give you 8, 9, 10 minutes. Where the thing is insane right now is that there's role player type players. There's a SEC player in the portal right now who's probably going to be an 8 to 9 point a game guy. He's probably going to get 4.5 to 5 boards a game if his progression is somewhat linear, and he wants $600,000. He's got let me rephrase that. He's got offers for $600,000, multiple offers.
Well,
so I don't know how.
Can he play defense, and what position is that? Because that also matters.
Yeah, he plays some defense. He's not an elite defender. He's good. He can rebound a bit. I mean, he's a wing. I mean, everybody kind of plays positionless basketball these days. I mean, I don't know that any, it's not like when I was a kid, you had 2 forwards, a center, and 2 guards. I mean, Ole Miss played four guards and a forward, really. I mean, I don't even think that stuff really matters. You just want players. But the point is it's going to be really difficult to fill out a bench that makes a lot of sense. And at the end of the day, you probably won't fill all 11 spots with scholarship / NIL players. You'll probably you want to get 7 to 8, and then you'll add a couple of dudes that, are high character guys that are going to practice hard, going to give you good looks. And when you're up 20, they're going to come in and play the last couple minutes, and everyone's going to cheer and be happy when someone knocks down a 3, right? I mean, I don't think in this market you're going to have 15 scholarship guys that are all making $250,000 plus. Just doesn't, the math isn't going to work, because if you do that, I don't know that you'll have a star. And I think at the end of the day, you still probably have to have that guy or two that can go get you a bucket when you need it.
Right. And I don't want to take up too much more time, but one thing I got to ask, you mentioned 1 or 2 stars on those payrolls. I know Malik Diaz is not going to be cheap. Where does he fit as far as you're concerned on that star level between 1 and 2? Is he a 1 or 2? Is he a 3? I love the kid to death, but he did disappear sometimes. So counting him in as 1 or 2 could be difficult.
Yeah, I think on this team he's going to be a 2 or a 3, and he's going to have to be consistent. You're absolutely right. He's got to answer the bell far more often than he did, but there were nights when he answered the bell that he was awfully good. I think he needs to lose a little weight, get in a little better shape so he doesn't commit those couple of cheap fouls a night that get him in some foul trouble and get him out of his game. I don't think he's a post-up guy. I think they need to use his 5-out skill more. I don't know that on this team they just didn't have enough bigs to do that, and sometimes they had to play him in a kind of back to the basket almost role at times where he had to go defend 5s, and sometimes they put him on out of necessity. I think they put him in a place where he wasn't super comfortable.
Yep, fair enough. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Excuse me there, my voice broke on me for a second. I asked for some questions at rebelgrove.com. Some people answered with questions. I'll take a few of those while waiting for calls. Let's see. Oh, yeah, by the way, Ole Miss and Kentucky were scheduled to play baseball tonight. Rained out in Lexington. They're going to play 2 tomorrow. I think Chase wrote at 2:00 is the first game. 2 9-inning games. So weather's still pretty erratic. But that is the plan. So no Ole Miss Kentucky baseball tonight. They'll play a doubleheader tomorrow. Don't forget that because the series was scheduled to start on Thursday, they have until Saturday to get the games in. They can't use Sunday. So if rain is a problem tomorrow, it probably becomes difficult to get all 3 in. But as of now, they're going to play 2 on Friday, 1 on Saturday in Lexington. We'll have coverage here at rebelgrove.com. Who's the caller?
Hey, Neal, this is Mark Columbus.
Hey, Mark. What's up, my man?
Hey, just wanted to congratulate you and Chase on you guys just completely having that story surrounded the last couple of days. You guys, that's an amazing job of reporting.
We're just
real journalism.
Board moderators, man. That's all we
are. Short moderators.
Just message board moderators. Just, doing the best we can. Just cheering on the Rebels. That's it was frustrating because no one gave us any credit. I don't know. I don't tweet enough, and I know that. But I kind of felt like I knew what was going on on what was that, Tuesday night? And then I felt really good about it on Wednesday. And I know there were some people that were reporting, and I read those reports and it raised my alarm. And so I said, well, maybe I'm wrong. And so I went back to other people, and kind of the consensus was no, your sourcing is right. And then Chase and I worked this story the way that I think what makes us a good team is when it gets nut cutting time, I let him focus on Ole Miss sources and I go outside. And we were hearing the same thing, which was it was real. A&M wanted him, and Chris was willing to go to A&M. And A&M made him a strong offer. I mean, again, everyone's making fun of Texas A&M in this, and I'm not really sure that I understand that. I understand making fun of the media that cover Texas A&M. Not all of them, but a lot of them. But in terms of Texas A&M, they put together a big, strong offer for Chris Beard. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, right? And Ole Miss, to its credit, said, nope, we're not. We're going to do what's necessary here. And they got it done, and they got it done quickly, and he stayed. And I kind of felt like in the end, and I think we were proven right, based on what we were hearing, was that someone at Texas A&M told me on late morning yesterday, look, it's going to be easier for him to stay than it is for him to go. And so if everything's fairly even, he's going to stay. But A&M is hoping that it won't get even, that they'll have a significantly better offer on the table, and this guy's wired for one thing and one thing only, and he'll take it. And I don't think their strategy was bad. I just think Ole Miss answered the bell.
Now, I've argued about this on the board. And feel free to disagree. I firmly believe he would have crawled through broken glass to get to Indiana.
I won't go that strong, but I think Indiana would have had a better shot than A&M.
Yeah. The Texas A&M thing, as long as Ole Miss was in the same zip code as far as the support, that's not some holy grail job.
No, and Indiana, Indiana has the allure of, look, his mentor was Bob Knight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
When you think Bob Knight, you think Indiana. If you think Indiana, you still kind of think Bob Knight. You ask me, hey, you say Indiana word association. I go Bobby Knight, Isaiah Thomas. And the fact that they were so hung up over an allegation.
Neal, if I'm them, you eat shit for 2 days and then you go to the Final Four. This isn't hard.
Mark, they're like you don't even.
Wolken and 40 are going to barbecue you for 2 days, and then you just
Mark,
they didn't do it. But they didn't do anything to him. He said Ole Miss.
I was in Atlanta for the Sweet 16. So was Pat 40 and Dan Wolken. They were right there. I saw them both.
They say hi.
No, we didn't speak.
Did they say hi?
No,
Have a beer with them?
we didn't. We did not exchange pleasantries. But they didn't write. They didn't ask anything, and they didn't write anything. Because what are you going to write? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, seriously, what are you going to write about that? It was an allegation. Texas fired him. If you talk to people at Texas, there are people there that go, that was a mistake. The district attorney looked into the case and ultimately didn't bring charges, and the charges were dropped. Now, I don't know what happened in that house that night. I don't know. I can't sit here and tell you that nothing happened, and I can't sit here and tell you that anything sinister happened. There are only two people on earth who really know, and it didn't go anywhere. That's the facts. That's not spin. That's not minimizing domestic violence as a whole. It's not. It's just saying there are only two people who really know what happened in that house that night, and there were no charges brought. So at the end of the day, Indiana passed on Chris Beard because they were fearful of backlash from an allegation. There's no other way around it. It's dumb on their part.
And it's just real dumb. I mean, who knows if DeVries is going to do it there, but because he wins national championships, plural, at Indiana. He might do it at Ole Miss, but he goes into that league. He wrecks that league. Wrecks it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he's a top 5 to top 3 national coach.
Yeah. I would say I think it's him and Hurley. I put Pitino in his own class, but I think it's him and Hurley are the two best guys.
Yeah, that's more than fair. I mean, the top 5, I mean, you're not even, it doesn't even, I mean, that's like if you do the NBA MVP thing. And you
got to throw Kelvin in there too. I mean, he's absolute.
Kelvin Sampson for sure. But you start. Once you put elite people, you're not really. You can shuffle that deck on a given day any different way and come up with a little different order. But elite is elite.
Who do you like to win it all? I think the winner of Houston Duke wins it.
I had Florida going into the tournament, but I think you're right. I think Duke wins it.
I mean.
But if you told me Houston won it, I'm not surprised. The only one, frankly, that I would be surprised if they won it right now is probably Auburn, just because I'm a little worried about Broom's health. And if they don't have Broom, I don't think they have enough. And they have to have Broom fully healthy.
And, last year, loss for me as a Tennessee fan was a lot more difficult to swallow than this loss. We play that team 100 times. We may win 10. That team has positional size that, they made Ziegler look 5'5", and I love the kid. They made him look 5'5". It's just
they're kind of
they are some aliens, man. Yeah. They are aliens out there.
Yeah, they are. They defensively, they're rough. I mean, if you don't shoot it really well, But here's the difference.
You got to beat them over the top. You got to beat them over the top to hopefully loosen them up, because you aren't getting the ball in the paint.
The difference with Duke is that they've got some taller shooters. They're more athletic in the paint, and Tennessee doesn't have Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, and not that it would have made any bit of difference. We were shooting in a football stadium vacuum that you're just not going to hit shots in there with those long arms in your face. And I think Shire runs better stuff than Kay does, honestly. But I don't hate Duke anymore. They're fun to watch, man. Yeah. They got some players. Oh my God.
I said this morning. I mean, people don't give Knipple enough credit. He's a really good player.
That kid's real good. I mean, is he a lottery pick?
He's late lottery. Early 15, 16.
And the guy inside is just a monster.
He's a beast. He's a stud. Yeah. He doesn't get any credit because he gets overshadowed by Flagg, and deservedly so, because Flagg's got an elite game now. There's not much that kid can't do.
Has college basketball been better, and not just because Ole Miss had a good season, and you've had an opportunity to actually cover quality college basketball. And is it gotten better? Do you think it's better this year? The season has been compelling the entire way, and
I hate to sound like a total fanboy, but covering Ole Miss went 10-8 in the league. They went 1-1 in the SEC tournament. Both games were really close. They go to the Sweet 16. They played a absolute, heavyweight fight with Michigan State last Friday. It was damn good. It was damn good basketball. There's a lot of really good basketball.
Good basketball.
There really was. There was a lot of really good basketball. I mean, I said all year the league was good. It was. There were really good players. There's really good coaches. Yeah, and then the environments, like in Milwaukee, the environment for the tournament was fantastic. And the environment, the last 10 minutes or so on Friday night for Ole Miss Michigan State was freaking electric. I mean, it was.
And we got guys
awesome.
staying. We got guys staying. They're going to stay in the sport now. That instead of going to be a second round, do a two-way with Europe, they're going to stay in college and make money. So the quality of play is going to be better. I'm
not only that.
I'm excited about it.
Not only that, but you have guys and I've used him as the example, and I always hate to do it because the whole Arkansas thing, but Adu Thero, I think he's staying at Arkansas. And he's a guy.
Why wouldn't you?
He's a guy that could potentially go late first round if he went to the draft. And I think he's going to stay. And there's going to be multiple guys like that stay. In a previous world, Yaxel Lindeborg would go second round, NBA draft. He'd either be on the end of a roster or he'd be on a two-way or he'd be in the G League or whatnot. And he's going to go play someplace. I think you're going to see.
And that will help the NBA greatly.
Yeah, I think
these guys will be known. These guys will have followings and be known by playing in the NCAA. Everybody's going to see them play in the NCAA tournament. Because that's my last question. What would you do if you're the NBA to get a guy like me who, I'm not kidding you, I have not watched a 48-minute NBA. I've watched one 48-minute NBA game since Jordan retired. One. That was Game 7 in 2016. I've watched bits and pieces.
Mark,
and it's not even because of the woke.
You didn't stream Thunder.
It's not even because of the woke stuff.
Random Wednesday night.
It's not even because of the woke stuff. It's because the team's tanking. I think it's just when teams aren't even trying to win. You've got teams going out and getting blown out by 40 points every night. They're not even trying. How can I be a fan of that? And Cleveland's obviously very good this year. So maybe I get into it. But what would you, if you're the NBA, how do you get somebody like me back?
Well, look, it would help. You're on to something. Because I think back to I've been watching this documentary on HBO Max about the Boston Celtics. It's really well done, by the way. The early part is about the role that Red Auerbach and the Celtics, Bill Russell, played in race relations in Boston and nationally. It's really, really good. And I'm at the stage of it right now where the Celtics just made the trade. Dave Cowan's retired. And the Celtics just made the trade for Robert Parrish. They've drafted Larry Bird, and they just drafted Kevin McHale. So it's the beginning of the 80s run. And, everybody knew about Larry Bird because of his time at Indiana State and the championship game. I was 9 years old. I don't know how old you are, Mark. I was 9 when Indiana State and Michigan State played in the national title. The game was on NBC, and I remember everybody talked about it at my elementary school. It was that big of a game. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, these two great players, and there was a lot of race elements to it and all that stuff. But Magic goes to the Lakers, wins a title, wins the Finals MVP as a rookie. And then the next year, I guess it was one of the next 2 years, the Celtics won a title, and then off into the 80s you go. And if you remember those 80s, in the 80s when the NBA had Magic and Larry, and then you had Dr. J, and then you started getting the Jordan years and the Isaiah Thomas years and all of those stuff, those guys all played college basketball for periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, you knew Isaiah Thomas from winning a national championship at Indiana the night that Ronald Reagan was shot.
Mm-hmm.
You knew Brad Daugherty with Cleveland because he'd played at North Carolina for years. We got cheated out of the Lynn Bias thing when he died of the cocaine overdose, but you watched him at Maryland. You had those
Olajuwon.
Yeah, Chris Mullen at St. John's, Patrick Ewing at Georgetown, Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler at Houston, and they lost to the NC State team, and then they won the title, and then you had the Villanova year where they beat Georgetown with Ed Pinckney and those guys. Those guys all played college basketball periods of time, and college basketball was big then because that's all ESPN had, and then by God, you just watched it. Big East. I mean, I was telling a friend the other day, you know, as a kid in Louisiana, we got ESPN, and suddenly, because ESPN was up there, I was too stupid to know this as a dumb high school kid, teenage kid, but you got just bombarded with Big East basketball, and it was good. I mean, Syracuse with like Pearl Washington, and you had Boston College, and you had all these Seton Hall had players, and you got bombarded with that, and you sort of followed those teams, and then you got a lot of ACC with Carolina and Duke and Maryland and Georgia Tech with, like, who was it, Mark Price and John Sally and all those kind of players that came through. I mean, yeah, if there's a way for guys to play college for a couple of years, 3 years, where fans get to know them and then you follow those players on to the NBA, I do think the NBA would get more guys like you to watch it. And I think when guys like you watched it, watching a team, following a team over the course of the season, not just turning on some random game and going, this sucks. If you had a rooting interest in it, I think your NBA sucks narrative would go away because the NBA does not suck. I get the woke thing.
And they're amazing. They're amazing players.
Yeah, they're incredible
I get
players.
It. And
and stylistically, the game has changed. I'll shut up and I'll let you talk. But baseball's changed. I was listening to an interview today about swings and torpedo bats and all of that stuff. It's a completely different approach at the plate for a hitter than it was when I was a kid watching George Brett and Andre Dawson and Ryan Sandberg hit.
And part of it is, and look, LeBron brought a title to Cleveland, but part of it is, and look, with the mother he had, no father around, growing up where he did, it would have been very. LeBron's turned out to be a pretty good guy overall.
He has
but he's also been paid to play basketball and had his ass kissed by adults as he's been about 12 years old. That's going to lead to a lot of narcissism. And when he gets out over his skis on topics and he just kind of diminished. I think he's diminished the league, whereas Jordan just totally enhanced it. Jordan made it a worldwide phenomenon, and LeBron, I think, has diminished it. Don't get me wrong, tremendous player. I think he's a pretty good dude.
Jordan,
but
LeBron heard the criticism. LeBron heard the criticism of Jordan when Jordan said white guys buy sneakers too. And LeBron felt a lot of pressure to go a different route, and he got lambasted for it. And the NBA has the China thing that it's not just LeBron that came across bad in that. It was damn near half the league, right? It's a different eras are different. I think you have to be super careful comparing eras because everything's different. Everything.
Yeah.
Like we don't really know how Magic Johnson and Larry Bird would have handled this era any more than we know what Nikola Jokic would have handled the 80s. And in the 80s, there wasn't this influx of European players. So who knows how the league would have been different if, Arvydas Sabonis had played in the NBA during the prime of his life, not just the tail end of his basketball time.
All right, brother. Thanks for taking my call, and again, congratulations on y'all's coverage of the beard thing. It was tremendous.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Good hearing from you. Look at all the NBA talk today. Chase is right now just rolling his eyes. But I didn't start it. Let the record show, I didn't start it. I've got Memphis and Miami up, by the way. Heat up by 2 late first quarter. This game in Miami. Duncan Robinson just hit a 3 to put the Heat up 5. All right, I told you I would take some questions here, so I'll do that. You guys feel free to call in. Having a hard time getting to the questions. Who do we have?
Yo, it's Grind.
What's up, Grind?
Oh, man, just enjoying the show, man. Look, I'm going to piggyback off, I guess, some of the stuff Tupelo and Mark was hitting on. Man, in my opinion, with this college basketball season, and just I think it's going to be college basketball in general now, because I don't know what it is, man. But these coaches and the players, especially in the NCAA tournament, man, the access that we as fans are able to get from y'all, dude, it is. I mean, if you're truly calling yourself a fan, and not just a fan of a team, but if you're a fan of a sport, there's nothing like it. It feeds this fan inferno that you don't even know you have inside you. When you see, I mean, honestly, because if you watch the post games from all the teams, you can honestly see and feel what they're basically an extension of the fans, it feels like.
Yeah. I mean, you have no idea how many people I'd told around the Ole Miss program over the last few days. I was like, you guys did notice the fan reaction to the access, right? You saw it, right? Because the fans loved it. You know, I mean, they got to know these guys a little bit. And then on Friday night when Ole Miss lost and Malik Dia was absolutely in tears doing his interview, talking about what that team meant to him, what Jamin Brakefield meant to him, what Sean Padula meant to him, what Chris Beard meant to him. I mean, that personalizes a team. It makes you see guys as more than
just dollar signs that are just putting on jerseys.
Yeah, or just guys that are wearing your laundry. I mean, I say this all the time. I use my kid as an example. He's 18 years old. He's cheered for the Thunder since he was 5. I mean, Carson's favorite player is not SGA. It's not Chet. It's not
Really?
Yeah, no, Carson's favorite player is Aaron Wiggins. He loves Aaron Wiggins.
Go figure. I would have needed all the roster guests.
He's got an Aaron Wiggins t-shirt. He wears an Aaron Wiggins jersey. I mean, and he loves all the other guys. He loves Shea. He loves J-Dub. All those guys, loves them. But his favorite player, he was at school today in a Dortcher Chamber shirt. He loves Lou Dort. And
okay.
Why? Because the NBA, they do the postgame thing, and the Thunder do the thing where the whole team shows up for the interview and all that. Mm-hmm. And you get to feel like you know the guys. And he's 18 and he feels like he knows the guys. I mean, he loves all those dudes. I mean, loves them. And college gets away from that because they protect them all. And I think letting those guys talk and letting fans get to see those guys and know those guys as something beyond number whatever on the floor wearing your laundry endears them to them. And when you get heartstrings attached, I think the connection's different.
1,000%, man. That's because for whatever reason, like when I was watching these interviews, I was like, man, football would never give up this. I could cheer as loud as I wanted to in any stadium across the country. I'm not getting what I'm getting after a game. We're not getting this as fans. I didn't even see this type of intimacy from like the college football playoff postgame locker room. Just still, even then, there's like this holding back that I can't, like, no, we still have to, talking codes and all this other stuff. And it's just like, man, just open up, give us what we want. Because one thing that I noticed with Ole Miss, and it struck me because I've got, I guess, I put my therapist hat on watching the interviews, the post-game pressers. With Ole Miss, yes, and I will say it was kind of sad, but also, what it kind of reminded me of? And I could, you could say, Graham, you're crazy, you're totally off, man. But especially when Beard was talking, it reminded me of like when you've got this young family that moves into this starter home, and then 3-4 months into the starter home they get a dog, and then 4 months after that the wife's pregnant, and then a year goes by, a couple months later they're having another baby, and then 2 years is coming up and they look at each other and they say, I think it's time for us to get a bigger house. Time to move into something that we've kind of been dreaming about. And they're like, yeah. And then on the day you're moving out, that's what the press conference reminded me of. On move out day, when you're packing everything into the van, and you look back at the little starter home that you started off in, and you just remember all of the memories that you had in that starter home. And it wasn't a home that was going to get you all the way through, but without that home, you wouldn't be able to be where you are today. And
I think that's great.
That's what that.
Yeah, no,
that's what that interview reminded me of.
Yeah, I think you're right. I missed a lot of that because I was in the Ole Miss locker room at the same time, and Malik Dia was visibly upset. You didn't see it because I couldn't get close enough to him to use camera, so I had to use my tape recorder. But Sean Padula was crying the whole time.
Yeah.
And then Chris Beard, who's probably not a crier.
Yeah, even me. Yeah.
Yes, Chris Beard's not the guy that chokes up at the Hallmark commercial.
No. He don't strike me as that.
I'm just gonna guess that's not him. Nothing against the guy who's that way. That's cool. All good. I'm not one of these men can't cry people. Nope. I'm not that guy. But Chris Beard's not a crier. And that team had him on the cusp of tears.
Tears, man. Tears.
Wasn't because they lost. It was because it was because
of what they gave him.
Yeah, they gave him everything. I had asked him a question.
Every last drop.
I asked him a question after the first round game over North Carolina, where I said, has this team kind of become you? Basically, and he looked at me, and at first I thought he was going to be like, that's a dumb question. And then he kind of thought about it, and he was like, he went into it, and then he came back with, yeah, I think that's a fair statement. And then he kept going, and that's when I went into the locker room, and Jalen Murray was sitting, Juju Murray. I called him Jalen most of the time instead of Juju. I don't know why. I called him both, but he was in the locker room, and he's kind of sitting there on his phone. And Cam Brent was in the locker next to Jalen, and he had gotten up to go get something to drink or whatever. And so I asked Jalen, I said, hey, do you have 2 minutes? Can I sit here? And he goes, yeah, sure. And so I did. And I said, Chris just said that you kind of have a calming influence on him. And he said, Chris Beard? And I went, yeah. And he gave me this great answer about, their time together, and he didn't really like to think about where he would have been without Chris Beard, and that Chris Beard's this genuine guy, and that he gets all over your ass, but that he cares about you, and you just have to understand that you have to hear the words, not the tone. And he gave me this great answer, and it was great, and I wrote it, and I think there were some people around the program that kind of dug it, for lack of a better word. I mean, they were like, yeah, that story sort of got the essence of what this team was about. And then I think, there were so many fans that, I'm not saying they read I'm not that arrogant to go that they read what I wrote, and that.
Look, man, give yourself some props, man. Come on, man.
But I think people read things like that and then understood that oh, there's a lot more to this team than just, these 8-9 dudes that play basketball and the crazy coach who, is singularly focused on nothing but winning. I think they realize that, like Murray was talking about how away from the floor, he's always there for you. And I've been around this a long time. I mean, I've coached I've covered some genuine coaches, and I've covered some coaches who are really full of shit. And in all sports at different schools, and I think Beard's a pretty genuine guy, and I thought he had a team full of guys that completely bought in, and I think that buy-in was, I think the tears that you saw from him, or almost saw from him on Friday, the reason that his voice cracked was gratitude. I don't think it was sadness. I think genuinely at the end of the year on that Friday night, I think Chris Beard wanted that team to win. I think he knows that he's going to coach more talented teams than that team. Yeah. I think he genuinely wanted those young men to win. He wanted it for them. I don't think it had
for them. Yeah.
I don't think it had anything to do.
He wanted it for them, just like the equivalent, just like the Ole Miss fans who watch. He believed in that team just as much as the Ole Miss fans believed in.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this about college basketball this year. It energized me. I mean, I've covered some really bad basketball teams the last few years, and it was depressing. Not the losing, just there's nothing to write about. Like I can remember one game. It was Ole Miss and South Carolina on a Saturday. I want to say they played at noon. And I'd gotten into this deal where I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go get a beer at halftime. I'm going to see whether there's ever a line. And I went to get a beer, and the lady, and I shouldn't drink on the job, I realize it, but it's 1 Miller Lite. Leave me alone.
Yeah, man. Oh, hell, that's water.
Yeah. And
yeah, you do it, man.
And she looked at me and she goes, hey, baby, or whatever. And I realized it's because I'm the only person that ever buys a beer from her kiosk. And it was just depressing. I mean, it was you're writing something, and I would realize I literally could write the cat ate the hat and the hat ate the bat, and no one's reading it. No one's reading it. I mean, and it was depressing. And this run kind of energized me a little bit. It was a lot of fun. And I felt sort of cheated on Friday night when I got back to my hotel in Atlanta. I still had some work to do, and I was doing that deal where it's late at night and you're super hungry and you're trying to decide, do I eat knowing I shouldn't eat, or do I just make myself go to bed? And I was having that debate, but I realized that I was kind of cheated because I had done some advance work on Friday for just in case. Ole Miss was going to get round number 4 with Auburn. I had found a couple of quotes from Beard, a couple of quotes from Pearl from after those games that I was going to build off of on Saturday. And I realized that I was like excited to work on that story on Saturday. And I kind of caught myself and I was like, look at you. You're actually excited about your job for a minute. Because I'm not going to lie to people. I mean, like sometimes and I don't mean this as an insult to some 17-year-old kid, but sometimes some 17-year-old kid takes an unofficial half-day visit to Ole Miss and you send him some messages and he comes back with, yeah, I really like the running back coach. Coach Kiffin's cool. I'm going to visit again. I'm down to 13 schools. And you're just like, good God. I mean, I'm going to write nothing against the kid, but like, no one's reading this. This is meaningless. It's just drivel. And it was kind of fun to write something that had meaning.
I'm going to say this, because when you bringing up recruiting, it just made me think about something else. But on the Chris Beard and Auburn facing Ole Miss again, Chris Beard, and I'm not going to say if, because I know he's the coach that you and I and everybody else believe he is. He's that good. I don't think a coach. I mean, the team has to be damn good. And don't get me wrong, Auburn is damn good. People had talked about early in the season how they was efficient off the Ken Palm levels, off the chart, breaking the radar and all this other stuff. But still, I would not want to give Chris Beard or crack at a team 4 times and tell him you just got to beat them once. That ain't, if you tell me Chris Beard versus a team 4 times and I have to bet on the team sweeping Beard, I'm nervous as hell. I'm telling you that now.
You know, it's funny.
I'm telling you that now.
It's funny you say that because I looked across where my seat was right behind the Ole Miss bench. And it was on the second row, kind of behind the scorers table, but very, very close to the Ole Miss bench. And directly across from me on the second row of media row, on the other side of the court, was Stephen Pearl. And look, I haven't talked to Stephen about this, nor have I talked to Bruce, and I never will because there's no point. It was going to be something I was going to work on Saturday had Ole Miss won, because I knew Auburn was going to beat Michigan. I knew that. And I was watching Stephen Pearl, and he stayed until 2 minutes left. The other assistant whose daughter was on the Bachelorette thing, I can't think of his name right now.
Okay.
He was there, and he left with about 6 minutes left to go join the Auburn team because they were going to take the floor as soon as the Ole Miss-Michigan State game was over. And Stephen Pearl did not go with him. He was taking copious notes. And I watched him during every media timeout. And every media timeout, Stephen Pearl watched the Ole Miss huddle intently. And I can't prove what he was thinking, obviously. He could have been thinking, do I want pepperoni or sausage tonight? I don't know. But it sure looked like that guy was going, we're going to play them one more time.
Okay.
We're going to play them one more time. And it was like,
I was thinking the same damn thing.
It was respect.
I promise I was.
It was respect. And I was actually really excited to see if I on Saturday could say, hey, I know you're not going to tell me game plan and stuff, but when you were watching Ole Miss last night, kind of what were you thinking? I was hoping Auburn, to Auburn's credit with Bruce, that's a pretty open program. I actually think I would have gotten that access to Stephen.
Yeah.
I think he would have answered the question, and I think it would have ended up being a really good story. It was the one thing that I kind of felt on Friday night that was kind of shocked me a little bit because, listen, I'm one of these guys, people believe it or not, I can watch one of those games and my pulse doesn't change at all. It doesn't matter. I'm just thinking about what I'm going to write. And I was kind of disappointed. And I was disappointed for me, not because Ole Miss lost, but because I wasn't going to get to cover any more of that run, and that run was a lot of fun to cover.
And to be honest, the Auburn Ole Miss story would have been like a NBA level series type story that you could have broke. Like I get it from like a reporter's standpoint of why you were so amped up, because I mean I don't I've only been following your career since you guys have been doing this, but it seems like it would have been probably in terms of top 3, maybe the most top 3 in-depth pieces and stories you would have been able to write in your career, as far as having everything and having minutia and getting access that you really wanted. It seems like it was all laid out right there.
Yeah, it was. It was going to be a lot of fun, and then my anticipation was that Auburn would win, and I would still get to write. I would still write the Ole Miss end of season stuff that I ended up writing on Friday. I would write that on Sunday, right? I mean, that, hey, you ran into the one team. The quote that I was building on was a quote from Beard from the first Ole Miss Auburn meeting in Oxford in late January, if I recall. And Ole Miss was tied with Auburn with 8 minutes left. And then Auburn kind of dominated the last 8 minutes of the game. And someone in the media contingent basically asked Chris the whole moral victory question. And he bristled. And he was like, the objective here, he gave Auburn its props. And he's like, this is a national title contender. This is a Final Four caliber team. This is a team that could win the whole thing. This is a team that could play on Monday night. Mm-hmm. The objective here is to get yourself in a position where you can beat a team like this in January, but where you can beat a team like this in March. And I was like, oh. And I made a mental note of it in January. And then I remembered it, and I went and found it on Friday. I had hours and hours and hours in the hotel where I'm just sitting there bored. And I went and found the video, and I transcribed it. And I was kind of already in my mind kind of building a column around that quote.
I will say this, man. Don't worry. I think you will cover at minimum 2 Final Fours. And that's what I have to say on that. I want to get your opinion on some quick stuff before I let you go.
Okay.
Did you so happen to see Tennessee's post game?
Yeah.
After they lost to Houston.
Yeah, Zakai.
Dude, that might have been I couldn't finish it. I couldn't finish it through the first watch. That might have been the saddest thing I've seen in a while, bro. I can't lie to you.
That's what you want, though, right? At the end of the season, you
want
to feel like you gave everything you had. And I thought Rick Barnes's quote about those guys was I thought it was profound. Where he goes, no, oh, my bad. What were you saying? Yeah, it was about Meshack and about Zakai and those guys, and he was like, those guys know I'm older. They know how badly I want to go to a Final Four. They know that's the thing in my resume that's missing. And he goes, but, you know, they were he said Zakai came off the floor and apologized. Think about that.
That's what got me, man.
Oh, me
That's
too.
That's what got me, too.
He's such a great kid, and I don't think you've probably never had an opportunity to meet Zakai Ziegler. I have on numerous occasions. He's an infectious, bubbly kid. He's great. You know, he came back from the knee injury. I mean, as a fan, when you watch him play, he's always smiling on the court and everything. So I can see that. He's great, and their relationship's genuine. And for him to come off the floor and say, I'm sorry, and for Rick Barnes to go, oh, no, there was no apology necessary. Those guys, he's like, I asked them, you know, it sounds cliche, but he said, I asked them every day at practice, give everything you've got for Tennessee. And he said, and those guys did. And at some point, you know, I mean, I remember telling, you know, my son about, I was like, at the end of your season, man, be able to do one of two things, either raise the trophy or be able to go, I did all I could do. There was nothing left in the tank, right? And only one team gets to raise the trophy. I mean, 3 of the 4 teams, as great as these teams are, 3 of these teams are leaving this weekend with L's. And, you know, either raise the trophy or be able to walk off that floor knowing that you had nothing left to give. And those kids did that for him. And I think for a coach, I think it's one of the reasons Beard was almost in tears. I think when you're a coach and you have a team that buys in and gives you everything, that's all you can ask. I mean, winning's hard. Like when you judge people by nothing but championships, that's wrong.
Yeah, that's tough.
You're missing it, right? Because championships require luck and you know, good fortune and a break and all of that on steroids. I mean, very rarely is one team just so much freaking better than everybody else that they just race to a championship and everybody else just looks at it and goes, wow, look at them. I mean, it requires a moment where you do something that maybe you couldn't do that again or you would never do that again. And, you know, Tennessee just ran into a better team. And at the end of the day, that's what it boiled down to.
And they played good in the second half. They played solid. It was just one. It's crazy how one bad half just changed how Zakai felt about the season.
Yeah. But you know what, man?
I mean,
the thing is 5-10 years from now when they have a reunion.
Yeah.
They won't focus on the Houston game. They'll focus on all the cool things they did. I mean, you know, and it's hard to make the Elite Eight. That's why they call it the Elite Eight. Look how close Ole Miss was to the Elite Eight. Look how close Arkansas was to the Elite Eight. It's just hard to get there. And, you know, I mean, like Michigan State, they were so pumped up leaving the court on Friday, and then on Sunday they're all in tears. You know, I mean, it's sports.
And that's a guy.
Sports are fickle.
That's a guy in his post game. First off, Tom Izzo is a jewel. He is a jewel.
Yeah.
For college basketball and for college sports. And just his thinking and, you know, what his outlook on the game. I think every fan, you know, should check out whenever Izzo is talking. I think it's interesting for not just Michigan State fans, but for common fans too. And so I'm gonna get your opinion on this, and I'm gonna hang up. Well, I guess the first thing, do you think Rick Barnes? Because now, honestly, I don't think so. I don't think Rick Barnes reaches the Final Four at Tennessee. You may disagree.
Probably.
And you say probably not.
Probably not. You never know, but probably not.
It felt, just that post-game interview felt like, and I know he never did. But it felt like every day after practice, he would tell the guys, yo, this is the team to do it. This is the team to do it. And it's, it's like the silent communication. And I don't know, man. I hope Rick Barnes gets there, but it feels like he won't. And I guess I'm going to have to hang up. Do you think next year the SEC is still as good compared to the other leagues in college basketball? I'm not talking about, as far as within the SEC, because I don't think if we still have, teams on Alabama, Auburn, Florida caliber next year, then the whole thought process about what the SEC is in basketball changes. I mean, it changes if you have teams on the same caliber.
Just based on the money that's flying around, it's going to be a loaded league. They're going to do it again.
12 and a half, make it. Over under 12 and a half.
Over.
Man, I appreciate you taking my call, man. I hope you have a great weekend and stay blessed, man.
Thank you, Grind. Appreciate you, buddy.
All right, you too.
Yeah, I'd go over. There's no sign that teams are taking steps backward. If anything, I mean, like, Auburn's not going to be as good as Auburn was this year, but they're not going to suck. They just got the kid from UCF that everybody was recruiting. Everybody was recruiting that kid. He's going to Auburn. Alabama's going to have a loaded roster. Texas is going to have a loaded roster. Arkansas, Kentucky. I think by the time it's over, Ole Miss is going to have a really good roster. I mean, just Tennessee's going to have a really good roster. They're getting the Gillespie kid. Everybody's going to be really good. They're going to have different names, but they all are committed. They all have money. Oklahoma will be good. Missouri will be good. The list just goes on. All those teams are going to be really good teams. I mean, some of those teams will emerge from good and be great or elite, but I don't know who's going to be bad. Michi Johnson's going back to South Carolina. LSU's going to be better. I don't know who's going to be bad in the league. Like that's the challenge. If you said, hey, name me an SEC team that's going to suck. I don't know. I'd have to really think about that. It'd be hard to come up with one right now off the top of my head. Hey, caller, who do we have?
Hey, Neil, this is Daniel. I'm actually calling from Bloomington, Illinois. I'm from Oxford. I'm heading back to Oxford actually tomorrow to visit a couple years ago. So I'm just engrossed in Cubs fans.
Where's Bloomington, Illinois?
It's about it's about an hour and a half from Chicago. It's Central Illinois. I work in media. I'm a sales manager, and I have Bloomington, Illinois, and Peoria, Illinois.
Okay.
So it's about an hour and a half, maybe an hour 45 from Chicago.
Okay.
I literally moved here sight unseen with just a job offer to go into management from Oxford, and I'm actually coming back to Oxford next week. But I had a story that I think you'll love because you're a huge Rocky fan. My whole family's from Mississippi, but I grew up in Memphis. My dad was a musician, and my dad's best friend, my entire life, his best friend was Jimmy Jameson, who's the lead singer of Survivor.
Okay.
And I used to hang out with him. He had a kid my age. We used to hang out all the time. He was just part of our family. So he wasn't the original lead singer, but he auditioned and he sounded so much like the original lead singer, they gave him the job. Well, his first big hit with Survivor was Burning Heart. Yeah. And when I was a kid, that before was on TV like, I don't know, 1,000 times a day. And my dad would go, there's Jimmy, that's Jimmy's song, that's Jimmy's. And I would be like, oh, shut up, who cares? Now, fast forward, I don't know how long, but Rocky IV is probably my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
And back then, I didn't think it was very cool, but now I'm like, holy crap, that's cool as hell. Huge Rocky fan. So, yeah, I thought you'd think that was cool. But it's funny, he's not the original lead singer, but he sounds exactly like the guy. But
how about that? Yeah, Rocky IV is awesome.
I do.
That's the best one of the tracks ever.
Exactly. And I think now I'm 37, so I was a little kid back then, but now it's probably my favorite movie of all time. And I'm like, damn, back then I thought that was so lame that my dad thought that was cool. Now I think it's cool as hell. But yeah, I did hear Sylvester Stallone in an interview like a while back. They were talking like 1 out of 10 ranked the Rocky movies, and I think he gave 4 like a 7.5, which I disagree with, but he gave 5 a 0, flat 0.
Yeah.
And I loved that. He even said, he's like,
Terrible.
yeah, that was stupid. I wasn't there. I hated it. He's like, that's the whole reason he made another one after that, because that one was so bad. So,
you know
yeah,
what?
I thought that was cool.
The movie Rocky Balboa, where he comes back and fights in the exhibition match in Vegas, is a sneaky good movie.
It is. It is good. It's like you're watching. You're like, this is supposed to be bad. I'm not supposed to like this, but it's good. And
yeah.
I also love that he didn't win.
Yeah. Yeah. He didn't need to.
I felt like if he had won, it would have made it kind of dumb.
Yeah, it would have made it cheesy. But by losing, but hanging in till the end and stuff, it was like, spoiler alert. I mean, it was just good. It was kind of felt right. Like you walked out of the theater. That was the thing about like some of the Rocky movies is as a kid, right? I can remember walking out of the theater at Rocky 3. I had to have been 12, 13 when he beat Mr. T. And like you were so jacked up, like you were just ready to go fight. You know, you just wanted to go box somewhere. I mean, it was like this keystone moment. Like I remember exactly where I was the first time I saw Rocky 3. And then Rocky 4 was just, it was perfect. It was awesome. And then Rocky 5 was just such a buzzkill.
So bad.
So
it's hard for me to watch Rocky 4 like just chilling at home, because I'm like, I want to get out and go fight somebody, or I want to go run up a mountain.
Yeah.
Or I want to do something. It pumps me up so much.
I'll admit
but
it.
I will say Creed was amazing too.
I've got the Rocky 4 soundtrack on my phone, and if I ever need a little juice to like get going on a run, I swear I'll play it. And I know it makes me a total dork, but it works.
Oh no,
it's one of those things where it hits the right buttons. And yeah, the Creed movies. I mean, Michael B. Jordan's amazing, and
I think you said it before I saw it, but you said on a podcast. I've been listening to y'all I don't even know since it started. But I think you said it before I saw it, and you said, I don't know, Creed 3 might be one of the best ever, and I was like, there is no way, there's no way in hell that's true, absolutely not. And then I went and saw it, I was like, damn,
yeah,
it might be.
And it was one of those deals where you walked out of it going, all of my people are good. Like all these people 100%. That were part of my growing up were good. It's like it's kind of like The Office. When The Office ended, I mean, I'll watch the finale for The Office and I'll get choked up because it's not because it's just because like they finished it up in such a way that, and Ted Lasso did this too. It's why I hate that Ted Lasso's coming back. I'm like, boy, you guys are playing with fire. But the Office, the way it ended, you kind of knew where everybody was going, and you're like, all my friends are okay, like everybody's good. I can walk away from this now and not worry about how everybody's doing, as stupid as that is, because they're not real people.
No, it's
and
real.
Actresses,
it's
but
real.
But it connected with you, and Ted Lasso was pretty similar. Like, the end of that where you were like, I know where everybody's gonna be for the most part. I kind of know everybody's generally good, and I can sort of move on and not worry about them anymore. Which is, I would think, if you're like a director, an actor, an actress, a producer, or whatever, that's the feeling that you're hoping that your audience gets over the course of, in those cases, years of following those characters.
Oh, I'm a huge Office fan too, and I agree. Like, I was, obviously you love the show, so you don't want it to end, but when it ended, you were like, that was perfect. Okay. That they did it. That's exactly how it should have ended.
Even Creed leaving in handcuffs. I mean, it was perfect. I mean, you just kind of knew
perfectly.
Yeah, you knew everybody was good. I mean, Dwight and Angela, and I mean, spoiler alert. I mean, you just kind of knew everybody was good, and it was heartwarming.
And I'll say Creed. I didn't think Creed 3 was going to be good because Creed 2 ended like that, where like Dolph Lundgren was like, made up with his son. He threw the towel in, and his son hugs him, and it's like everyone's good. But then 3 comes, and it's like, okay, well, this was great too. So I don't want to say that I wish they'd stop, but I mean, I'm sure if they make another one, which I think they probably will end up making because it's so much money, I'm sure it'll be good.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know where you go from here now.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Pardon me. I'm sure they'll think of something, but sometimes I guess I'm like always like, I don't know why, because it doesn't matter. But I'm like the Ted Lasso thing. I'm a little nervous, like they're gonna.
Yeah, I don't like that. I wish they would have left that alone.
But maybe they'll introduce new characters that you'll really become attached to. I mean, the idea of him coaching a women's team it's intriguing. I'm curious. To kind of see how that goes. I hope that they mix in some cameos from the other characters so that if we're going to do this, right, where we get some sort of like little drops from the other, like Roy and some of the other characters that you came to love.
Agreed. And last thing I'll say before I hang up, I wanted to just say last year, I guess it was the playoffs, you posted a link for one of Carson's soccer games. And
yeah,
I'm not a soccer guy at all. Not at all. But I watched that game, and I don't think I've ever been so fired up and into a high school soccer game and in my life. I'm sitting here in Bloomington, Illinois with one of my buddies who's like, is this what they do down south? Y'all like stream high school soccer and get all fired up? And I'm like, no, not normally, but this is different. And I was watching, we're drinking and just like go. I mean, I was cheering for it like it was Ole Miss in the freaking Sugar Bowl.
Was that?
I had so much
the one
fun.
they won or the one they lost? MC or Hernando?
It was the one they lost, unfortunately. But I was fired up. I mean, I felt almost silly afterwards. I was like, that was ridiculous. But I had so much fun watching that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, glad everything's going great. I hope y'all keep doing this for a long time. Literally, I listen to y'all every day, and being here. I mean, I've lived in Oxford for years. I moved here, and I still listen to y'all every day, and it's almost like I'm just hanging out with my boys. So I love it. So keep doing it, please.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Safe travels.
Have a good night.
Grind, thanks for the super chat. I need my readers at this point of the night. MSU fans were cheering for Auburn when they played Michigan. Said it's because Auburn took Peyton Thorne off their hands. Hey, caller, who do we have?
Hey, it's Austin.
Hey, Austin, what's up, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm good.
So I got a little bit of a different question I've been wanting to ask you and Josh, which, by the way, are just off record, are you and Josh going to be doing a show again anytime soon? I'm just curious.
Yeah, we were going to do one yesterday, but the beard thing was flying around, and I didn't know what time that was going to go down, and so at about 1:30, I texted him and was like, "Hey, man, can we punt this a week just in case?" Because I felt pretty confident that Chris Beard was staying at Ole Miss, but I was like, in a world where I'm wrong, and I'm not arrogant enough to think that I'm never wrong. In a world where I'm wrong, I knew we were going to have to pivot hard, and I wasn't prepared to pivot. And so it was going to be a scramble, and I didn't want to do the deal where I'm, 30 minutes into a podcast about politics and tariffs and stuff, and Chris Beard leaves for Texas A&M, and I'm in a wild scramble. I just didn't want to put myself in that spot, so I said, let's just do it next week.
Yeah, you didn't want your phone blowing up 30 minutes into a talk about tariffs.
Well, we would have had to stop. I mean, we would have had to stop, and because Chase and I had already talked, like in a world where Beard left, we were going to do an emergency podcast, and so it would have been a scramble, and there was a couple other things going on, so we just punted. Yes, the plan is to do it next week.
Super off topic. I just never really thought he'd leave. I understand.
I didn't either.
Never thought it.
I didn't either. But I knew there was a chance. I knew it was a job he was willing to take, and so and I knew there was I talked to a couple of people at Texas A&M who are reasonable, who earlier in the day said they thought he would stay at Ole Miss, but that it was kind of on the fence. And I trusted their opinion because I knew they were well sourced, and so I knew there was at least a possibility. And so we were at least talking through, Chase and myself. We were at least talking through all right, what's our plan for if he leaves? We didn't get very far with it, but we were having that conversation, and I knew that it was coming to a head one way or the other yesterday. And in a world where he took it, it's going to be kind of a mad scramble. So I just kind of wanted to clear my calendar.
By the way, as an Ole Miss grad and an Ole Miss fan, I appreciate your dedication. I appreciate that, but sorry, they're wrenching your plan. So my question that I wanted to ask you and Josh, but I'd really love your opinion on it too. You can go ahead and say it now, what you think maybe, and if you need more time, that's fine. But I'd love you and Josh to kind of go in depth about this topic for a little bit, if you don't mind, one day. It's kind of a two-parter. One's just the nation as a whole, and one's here in Mississippi, just locally. We're nearing the end of Trump's. We're getting close to the 100-day mark of his presidency. If you had to give, just so far, I know it's still early, but just in your own personal opinion, if you had to give the first bit of this term a letter grade, what letter grade are we sitting at right now? If you had to grade it.
Well, I mean, I give him credit for he's done most of the things that he said he was going to do. I mean, these are the things that he campaigned on, and so people voted for him, and he won, and so he's doing them. I don't agree with all of them. I don't agree with all of the messaging, but I mean, I'd give him a B+, A-. I mean, the whole, and I think Josh would give him a higher grade based on our conversations and text communications that we have pretty regularly. I think Josh would give him a high A. I'll ask that question of Josh on Wednesday, but I think Josh believes that like the tariffs, they hurt now, but that they're a necessary pain. I don't know enough about that world to have any level of expertise, and so I won't pretend to, but I do look forward to doing that show with him because he does have a tremendous level of expertise, and I will be fascinated to get his kind of thoughts and perspective and analysis of what is and isn't happening.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate your candid answer on that. The second one is kind of more fun and something that I'd love to hear your take on. Obviously, last week with the local news about the state tax or the state income tax leaving the state, I'd love you and Josh to kind of go into this a little bit. Number one, just off the top of your head, because you're a resident, I'm a resident. What do you think that means for the future of our state? Number one, and number two, if it does help bring industry, if it does help the local economy, if it does flourish the state, what type of industry would you like to see come to the state? Like, just different stuff. Like it could be fun stuff like a Publix, just anything.
I just think they've got to find a way in Mississippi. They've got to figure it out. Alabama's figured it out. Tennessee's figured it out. Arkansas's figured it out. I think Mississippi's got to somehow figure out a way to create a twofold approach to this, where you bring in industry and where you also bring in white-collar jobs. You've got to find a way to get both into your state. You've got to find a way in Mississippi. I mean, I've raised 3 young people, and their one collective criticism of Mississippi, and I think it's valid, I think it's fair, is that, Dad, there's just no jobs for us here. There's no future. There's no future for us here. I think it's fair on their part. I'm not saying that they're right, but I'm not willing to say that they're wrong, and I understand why they feel that way. And Mississippi has to find a way, somehow, some way, to overcome that. And I don't know whether that is through incentivizing companies to bring high-level manufacturing / white-collar jobs to North Mississippi, whether it's that Madison Ridgeland area, whether it's the coast. I don't know. But that's if Mississippi's ever going to overcome some of the stigma that it has and that kind of thing, that's the way it's going to be done. You've got to find a way to keep young brain power at home, because right now they're all leaving. And
no, I agree.
And once they leave, most of them don't come back. And they're going to Texas, and they're going to Georgia, and they're going to
Tennessee.
Nashville. Yeah. North Alabama was booming. That Huntsville, Decatur corridor of North Alabama is just booming with white collar jobs, and they're building big schools, and they're all the stuff that comes with that, and it's thriving, right? And look, at the risk of pissing some people off, I mean, my girls went to Arkansas, and that Northwest Arkansas corridor, all the way from Fayetteville to the Missouri state line, is just booming with jobs, industry, white collar, corporate, young people. So you have young people in their 20s that are getting married, and they're starting families there, and they're building, these neighborhoods are popping up all over the place, and Oxford's growing. But like the area around Oxford's not really growing. So you've got to figure out a way, to bring those kind of jobs into those areas and get them to spread. And that's the key. And listen, I don't know how you do that. If I knew that, I'd probably be in that field, and I'd be making an absolute mint. But, I think that's part of probably the incentive of, hey, let's eliminate the state income tax. Let's, that's worked for Florida. That's worked for Texas. Maybe that works for Mississippi. I think they've got to continue to incentivize corporate growth. And, it's a hard job. You're overcoming a lot of stuff down, that's why I thought years ago, I guess it wasn't that many years ago, when they replaced the flag, I thought, even though it was a symbolic thing that didn't, quote, mean anything, end quote, I thought it meant a lot. You've got to take the stigma away, and you've got to incentivize where people are willing to come and live in Mississippi and raise their families in Mississippi and invest in the schools and the communities, and get them to take off a little bit, get them to grow. Because again, some of the states around you have kind of figured that out.
I mean, it took some time just to go. I won't belabor the point, but it took some time. Look at the state of Georgia when they got rid of their flag, and I mean, it took time, but I mean, that state, I mean, it's booming. I mean, there's all kind of industry there, and yeah, you can say, but there's admittedly, there's more to Georgia than just the city of Atlanta, and there's a reason why so many people move. And like I won't belabor this point a whole lot more once I say this. You're absolutely right. Oxford is growing as a town, and it is. But you and me, we're local. There's no reason why towns like Tupelo and Olive Branch and Biloxi and Jackson or Madison County or whatever, like Hattiesburg, Starkville, like Golden Triangle, somewhere like the Corinth region, like there's got to be enough to keep people here. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, just jobs, right? You've got to. People aren't going to stay without jobs. They're going to go places where the jobs are, and then that's where they're going to that's where they're going to put their roots down. And again, I mean, I'm sure there are people, like I can think of a couple of people that I know that are in Mississippi government that right now are saying, yeah, big boy, come do it. It's easier said than done, and I understand that. But like Alan in the thread says, Walmart, Tyson, and JB Hunt, the only reason Northwest Arkansas is booming, but those are big reasons, Alan. I mean, those are massive reasons. That's kind of like saying SGA and Jalen Williams and Chet are the only reason the Thunder are winning. But those are big reasons. And so Mississippi's got to find a way to attract those types of companies that create jobs and create community and go from there. And that's hard to do, but You know, crazy thing is it's a great state. The people of Mississippi are awesome. Everyone's wonderful and all of that stuff. You just, I think there was a we can't do it mentality for so long that they're having to kind of overcome that. And that takes time.
And I guess this will be where I leave you. So I know there's no real way of gauging this out properly, but if you had to make an educated guess, and I'd love to hear Josh's take on it too, and yours, and some more long form discussion. Do you believe last week's decision to get rid of that is going to ultimately help us in the long run? And if so, how much longer do you think it'll be before we actually see the fruit of that labor, if you had to take a guess?
To get rid of the state income tax?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think it can hurt. But the rest of that question, man, I don't know that I'm smart enough to know, but I will ask Josh. He's probably smart enough. He's definitely smart enough to have a much more educated opinion than I would have on what that means. And, you know, does that win a business? Does that convince a business that maybe was thinking about, you know, putting a big manufacturing hub in Alabama or Florida or Georgia or Tennessee to move it to Mississippi? Maybe. I don't know. I'll ask him. It's a great question. I'll ask him.
I really appreciate your time, Neal. Hope you have a great weekend. Be safe. Appreciate all you do, brother.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Wow, you guys are awesome. I anticipated this being like 45 minutes of me talking to myself, and y'all blown me away. I didn't even get to a lot of the questions. Grind, do you think if you didn't cover Ole Miss that your kids would have went there or would have chosen to do higher ed out of state anyway? My kids are really different. My oldest wanted to go out of state. She knew that. She knew that early, so there was a lot there. I don't really feel like diving into it at this point, but and then my middle child thought hard about Ole Miss, but it was the COVID year when she kind of got out. There were she couldn't really go visit a lot of schools, and so her two choices were just kind of the school that in town that she knew and the school where her sister went, and so she didn't have a lot of choices. I think Caroline, our middle child, she wanted to visit Tennessee, but he really couldn't do a real visit because everybody was COVID crazy at the time. Hey, caller, go ahead.
Hey, Neal, Steve, Greenville.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, do you like true crime podcast by chance?
Sorry, Steve. Siri got crazy.
Hey, you like true crime podcast?
Go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Do you like true crime podcast?
Some, yeah.
Check out God's Socialist about Jim Jones.
Okay.
It starts off really slow. You got to get to about the third one. But, you know, I didn't realize how big he was. I mean, he was the LA Times Humanitarian of the Year for 1975.
That's Guyana and the Kool-Aid and all that?
Right. The Lieutenant Governor of California helped him get that land in Guyana.
Oh, wow.
Flew down with him to get it.
Yeah.
Walter...
I just finished the Karen Reed documentary today to give you an idea of like the stuff that I like to listen to and watch in my free time. So that is the kind of stuff that I'm interested in.
Yeah, I mean, when Walter Mondale went to San Francisco in '76, Jim Jones met him at the airport and rode in his limo with him.
Oh, wow.
When they were campaigning for president, Jimmy Carter's wife's people called Jim Jones to bring people to her rallies. I mean, that's how big he was.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, it goes into a lot of detail about what was going on around him. He got caught exposing himself to a police officer and propositioning in L.A. And Willie Brown of Kamala Harris fame.
Yep.
And Jane Fonda wrote letters in support of him.
Oh, wow.
And the mayor of San Francisco called the mayor of L.A. and got it quashed. I mean, it was like he did a
tell me the
last one. He did a
God's what?
Socialist.
God's Socialist.
It starts off really, really slow. The first two, I'm not going to lie to you. They're boring, but you got to get through them to get to the third one, which is awesome.
Okay.
Second thing, have you gone to Talladega yet? Has that happened?
About 3 weeks.
All right. Quick story about Talladega. A friend of mine used to work for the newspaper in Houston, Mississippi.
Okay.
He got us press passes to go. He
All
was
right.
not a journalist. He did the layout for the paper. Let's just say, long story short, we slept in the campgrounds across from it. The layout for the press, I highly recommend you get some press passes. The layout, the food is wonderful. They have, I don't know what Ole Miss does for you, but I can't imagine it being anything like that.
Probably not.
And let's just say, don't do what I did and get drunk and pass out during the media events.
Okay, I'll try not to. That is on my list of things not to do is pass out.
I was 24 years old, straight out of college, and let's just say I'd spent 3 days drinking. And on that Sunday, I couldn't take it anymore and just passed out with a NASCAR tire sitting beside me.
All right, I'll try not to do that, Steve.
Okay, y'all enjoy the show. Talk to y'all later.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Bye.
All right, probably got to start wrapping this up here pretty soon. Fun show. Let's see. I'll look at the questions real quick. I'll turn these into a mailbag. I've not watched Mad Men. Dr. Dan, I've never watched it. It's on my list of things that I've been told I would enjoy, but I haven't watched it. If I had $2 million to invest, if I had $2 million to invest in a business in Oxford, what business would I start? I don't know. We talked about Beard's package is not his package, his NIL package. When our family buys something, do we look where it's made? Sometimes. Why the Cubs give up on Kyle Schwarber? It's complicated. Who wins the first title, Kiffin or Beard? I'd say Beard because it's so hard to win in football. We talked about Major League Baseball. Rodney Terry on the basketball staff. Probably not, but maybe. Karen Reed. Here's my Karen Reed answer. I think she probably did it, but I think it's pretty obvious that the investigation was tainted and evidence was probably planted. And given that, if I were on the jury, I would vote to acquit. Hey, caller, who's this?
Hey, this is Wesley.
Hey, Wesley.
I just had a question. So, it's a little bit more of a boring question, but I know a lot of the reason that athletics specifically has grown at Ole Miss is because of the investment in terms of money. But what do you think that the administration has done so differently from past generations that's made them excel so much?
What is this one done as opposed to past generations?
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of times it's basically, well, Boyce and Carter have done it again, when I know it's a lot more than just Carter himself doing it. What do you think is different about this one?
It's more than just Keith, but it's look, the first step to being successful is wanting to be successful. The first step to winning is making winning a goal. The first step to getting into shape is being determined that you're going to get into shape. I mean, I don't think it's much more complicated than that. I think this administration wants to win. Winning is a goal. They're willing to put the work in to win. And therefore, when the winning happens, it's because there was a determination to win. I don't believe I'm not a historian, but I've covered this beat for a long time. And I don't know that everybody else who's been here before, that was truly their goal. I think there were people who viewed Ole Miss as a place that was limited, and they didn't set their goals as high as maybe they should have. Now, in fairness, Andy Kennedy coached the majority of his career Tad Smith Coliseum where you couldn't bring a recruit there to see it because that was a negative. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big handicap. He didn't have the money to do the under the table recruiting that some of the people he competed against did. That was a handicap. All the rebel flag stuff was a handicap. I mean, I'm in fairness to some of the people before, those were all legitimate handcuffs, and hard to go win a boxing match if you're handcuffed. It's pretty tough. So it's not just, hey, all those guys sucked. I do think they had some chancellors that weren't committed to it. Bitter, for example, complete joke, total circus.
Yeah.
Just was not committed to it at all. Didn't understand it. Didn't have the gravitas that I think you have to have. And then, I think you have to give Keith Carter a lot of credit, in an era when he got that job without any real outside experience. He'd never been a AD anywhere else. He got it at a time that right about the time that the COVID thing hit and everything changed, and he adjusted on the fly, and he loves Ole Miss, and Keith's very competitive. I think that's a bigger trait for him than loving Ole Miss, honestly. I think he's very competitive. He wants to win. And, Ole Miss got ahead of the curve on NIL with the collective, William Liston, and then Walker Jones, and a lot of other people, Denson Hollis, a lot of people put in a lot of work behind the scenes that nobody really will ever see. And then Lane Kiffin kind of fell in their lap, and they had the courage to go hire him. And the same happened with Beard, and they've kind of been ahead of the curve in this very new era in college athletics, and they're committed to it, and they want to win, and they're committed to winning, and they're determined to win. And I think that's why they've put themselves in a position where they have won. I don't think it's any more complicated than that, honestly. I don't think it's a lot of sentimental bullshit. I just think it's step one in doing something is deciding that you're going to do it. And they've made that decision. And, I wrote this last night about Beard, and yeah, Ole Miss is going to give him a ton of resources. He's in a league full of teams that have a ton of resources. There's no guarantee that it means that you're just going to go race to the Final Four, but you're not going to win if you don't at least have the weapons necessary to compete with the others that are trying to do it. And unlike past administrations and coaches and such, this era of coaches here are getting the weapons to at least give them a fighting chance.
Yeah, I completely agree. One last little tidbit. In terms of Keith Carter, and I know this is nothing, there's nothing about it right now, so there's no real reason to ask a question, but I mean, is that someone that you think on a national level could be grabbing attention from other schools, or is that something where they look and say, he's a fit for Ole Miss, that's why it was part of the reason he does so well there?
Yeah, I think he's a fit for Ole Miss. I mean, he probably could get another job nationally. I doubt if he wants it. I'll be surprised in this era if people stay in those jobs for a particularly long period of time. They're incredibly time-consuming, and they're hard. The scrutiny is ridiculous sometimes, and so I'd be surprised if Keith does this a tremendous amount of time, and I'd be shocked if he did it anywhere other than Ole Miss. And frankly, I think you're going to see more and more of that, where the people that take these jobs are going to be taking them at places where they have roots and they love it and stuff like that. I think the Ross Bjork tenure track, don't really have ties to a place and you jump around because you're really good, hobbing and whatnot. I suspect those days are kind of coming to a close. You gotta really kind of have a affection for a place to deal with some of the bullshit that modern college athletics, man. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, all the NIL stuff and all that stuff is, I know fans dig it and all that, but it's a lot. Like it's a lot. And it's it's constantly having to hit people up for more and more money after you've already hit them up for a lot of money. That's not always a lot of fun. So, and then doing it coming off of it's one thing to do it coming off of 10-3. It's another thing to do it like coming off of 6 or 7-5. And at some point, the law of averages tell you that at any place, I mean, like Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, at some point, those teams are going to have a season where everything that could go wrong does, and you go 6-6, and suddenly you're hitting people up trying to raise $15 million, and they're like, "We went to the Birmingham Bowl. Why?" And that's going to be a challenge, and that if you stay in it long enough, that's going to happen. So I think that's I don't know if I answered your question, but I think the main theme is that they're winning because they were by God determined to win.
Yeah, it just seems like they were willing to not accept what they thought they were. But yeah, well, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. Bye.
Guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. Appreciate everybody for calling in. I really do appreciate it. Made it a lot of fun. Thanks for doing the show. We'll make this the Friday morning Blue Sky Live, and we'll be back next week with another week of podcasts. Won't have a show next Thursday night. I'll be out of town with my son. I'll try to come back in 2 weeks and do another one of these. Again, thanks to Comer and Southern for sponsoring this show each and every Thursday. Thanks to everybody for calling in, being a part of the program. Thanks to everybody in the stream. And we will talk to you again soon. Until then, take care.